Welcome to Double Dose of Raw Talk Podcast, your weekly dose of many discussions and opinions, a show where we get comfortable being uncomfortable. And remember, no topic is off limits. Now let's talk about it.
So I still like it a little raspy and whatnot. So forget it. It's like it happens all the time. But here we are.
All good.
So welcome back, guys, to another week and another episode on Double Dose of Raw Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Miss D, and today we have a long time coming guest. I say this all the time with so many people, but I really mean it this time. So before we even jump into the intros, I used to give like this whole intro to every guest, right? But then I'm like, no, this is creating a space where I give my guests a platform to have a continued voice, right? And so I allow them to do their introduction because who knows themselves best but you, right? But I do want to say this little thing. So I'm going to take it all the way back to watch. I'm going to age myself totally now. I want to say maybe around 2011,
Wow.
2010. I had known about you through a mutual person. Um and I don't like to incriminate people, but it's through the church. He was a coworker of mine, Robert, and that's how I came to know about your page. So yes, so I have to
We
say
love
that.
that.
Yeah, so I have to say that because I can't. I think there's a good handful of guests that I've had that I've connected through someone and have been following for some time, but then it's like fast forward to having a podcast and then bringing them on the show, right? um but I knew of you. I knew of you for a very long time. Someone who was starting off with Curves with Moves, someone who was starting off with IG lives and your videos, and I knew of
Right.
it
Yeah.
then
Crazy.
since a long time ago. And I used to be like, damn, like, not for nothing, it's true. Like, I swear I was burning calories dancing. Nobody could tell me nothing. And I kept
Right?
myself
Listen.
alive. Yes. No, it's true. Today, I was so focused at work, and someone said, what you've been doing? I said, it's been a smooth day. They're like, oh, not busy? I said, no, very busy, very productive, but it's been a smooth day. And they said, well, why? I said, well, because I've had music on blasting all day in my office. And as I've been completing my work, I have been able to blast this music, and I just been dancing. And I got up a few times, and I was like busting moves all by my damn self in my office. Nobody's gonna watch me. Nobody's
Yes.
gonna tell me shit. But it
It
just
feels
felt
good
so
too.
good. It just did. And so it was so intentional and so aligned to finally have you on this show. So will my guest please introduce yourself to the Double Dose of Raw Talk listeners?
Oh my God, of course. Well, thank you so much for having me, Miss D. I'm so excited. For everyone who is joining in, hello. My name is Jessie Diaz-Herrera, but as she knows, I'm also known as at Curves with Moves
Yes.
on Instagram, TikTok, and pretty much all platforms.
Mhm.
But I am I first I tell everyone I am a mom. I am a neurodivergent mom.
Mm.
But most and foremost for me, I'm a plus size athlete, trainer, and joyful movement instructor, I like to say.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so I've created a class called Free the Jiggle, where we dance, shake, and jiggle and release a lot of stress and tension through joyful movements, twerking, and posing, and all the things.
Yes.
And I also co run a New York based event group called Power Plus Wellness, where we curate private fitness events for plus bodies in a safe space.
Yes.
So really exciting
Amazing.
stuff. But
Yes.
I'm really excited, and
Mhm.
it couldn't hold. And I have to say, it couldn't have been 2010, but it has to. I'm gonna say because I knew Robert in 2016, so it has to be like 2016,
So
2015.
it's
But that's
actually
still almost
probably,
like 10 years ago,
yeah, that is. So
or
it
like it's
has
like
to
eight,
be.
9 years ago.
It has to be. So you
Yeah,
know what?
but it feels long.
I'm tracing it back to when I first met him, and I sustained
Yeah,
a connection with him because it was out of
yeah,
he was my coworker. So I'm tracing it back to when I met him, and then as time went by, and he knows me. He knows I'm like a very proud plus size person, right?
Right.
So
But isn't that cool when guys can be like, "Oh yeah, I recognize," like, which is cool because
yes.
usually you hear it from other women. That's the first. Shout out to Rob.
Shout out to Rob because he's one of those people who he and I remember him. One of the key components is, "Oh, you should get to know this person. You should come." He would always say, "You should come. You should get to know this person. You should meet this person." So I remember when he introduced me to your page, it was through Facebook Messenger, and he forwarded your
Wow.
page, and so I was like, "Oh, okay." So I'm actually tracing it back to when I first met him. So, but shout out to him. I always
Ooh.
appreciate a great connection. That going down the line, I mean, I've had a guest here who on a personal note, I have been at parties, I have been baby showers, I have been at housewarmings, I have been in so many spaces with her for years. And then I joined her community, and I've mentioned her so many times here. It's one of my proudest episodes with Melanie Santos Co. And
Oh, I love Melanie.
yes, yes,
The
and
world is so small. Of
it's
course, I
so
know
small,
Melanie.
of course. And but I had seen her in so many events through mutual friends, and it wasn't until this space that I was able to really learn from her in such a different way and really value her to come on this platform and share her gems as a guest, right? And so I
Yeah.
always like to give that recognition where like somewhere there was a connection if there was, and then here we are today, right? So I think it's a
Yeah,
beautiful
it's
thing.
all meant to be. Yeah, all
Yes,
like
yes.
divine connections, which
All
is
of
great.
it. All of it is fantastic. All right. So here on the show, we always kick off with a raw mess of the week. Now, I sometimes get very messy with this, with some like gossip and the media and all that stuff, right? And
Yes.
sometimes it's like very relevant to what we're going to talk about, but then at times it's not. However, I do want to highlight something, okay? And I feel it's important with a concept that we are going to discuss today, right? And so I'm not a sports girl. I'm not. The most sports I do is soccer, okay? But listen, I'm a Ecuadorian. I'll watch baseball. I'll watch all the other things, especially in the championships, semifinals, finals, whatever the hell you call it, right? Okay, great. But I have been recently, my kid is a fanatic of sports, and I have been recently watching the basketball games, right? There's like this whole thing with the basketball games, right? And the commentators, it's not really messy, but I just wanted to highlight it so much because I'm like, well, damn, he does take care of himself, right? The way they talk about the older players and do they still got it and the way they move and it put me in a space where I'm like, yo, not for nothing. My father is about to be 70 next year. He had one health scare and my man's was walking at minimum a mile a day and lost so much weight. But his mission
Wow.
was to get healthier. When I look at these
Mhm.
athletes, right? And of course, listen, they got money, so they're going to invest in their bodies, right? I get that part. But you don't need money to invest in your health and your wellness and your body, right? It's the level
Yeah.
of discipline. So when I hear, and I've been hearing these commentators, and they talk a lot of shit. Oh my God, during those
They
games, they
do.
talk so much shit.
A lot
But
of ageism for sure
a lot of
there.
ageism, but I wanted, it's a little bit of a hot take, right? This whole little thing of, oh, you're too old for this, or you're not supposed to be in the mix, leave it to the young people. I want to have your take on that a little bit, especially as someone who advocates so much for movement. And it shouldn't be of a limit to someone, especially with age. I want to get your take on that a little bit of where we are in society when it comes to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, well, yeah, and I said it immediately. I was like, this is ageism right off the
Mm-hmm.
bat, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's in a lot of ways there's this atypical understanding of what a fitness person should look like. They need to be all muscled up, six pack abs. They look between 20 and 30 years old. Um, and I also like a lot of that is a facade because
Yeah.
there's so many things. I think one thing is you can look physically fit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But looking physically fit is one piece of health and wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about this a lot in my classes too, but like movement is self-care, and we're not just talking about doing stuff to perform. We're talking about doing stuff to heal, doing,
Mm.
working out to relieve stress,
Yeah.
working out to run around with our kids, working out for better sex, whatever it is like that
Anything,
it is for
right.
you.
Yes.
You know what it is like, if we can be real, right?
Yeah, all the way raw. All the
you
way
know
raw here.
all the way around. I mean, but it's for real. Like people don't know, like fitness. There's so many aspects to it, and especially as you get older, you want to be moving. And I think what we forget is like our bodies are like they're like a well-oiled machine, right? If you're not
Mhm.
like if that machine is not moving, it's gonna get cranky, and you need to put the oil, all
Yes.
that kind of stuff.
Yes.
You need to be moving your body more as you get older, um, because it's going to give you more vitality. It's going to give you more life. It's going to give you less stress. And so I feel like that's a very atypical, and that's really what I'm trying to do. And a lot of other people are trying to do in the fitness
Yeah.
space is let people know that there's not a one way to look in the fitness industry, and there's so much represented within the fitness industry. It doesn't have to do with weight or muscles or how you look. And if you're going to disregard that, if you're going to disregard all the self-care and all of the amazing mental health benefits only based on how someone looks, well, someone
Mhm.
could look really, muscly, but they probably are, but they could be depressed, right? And they're
Right.
just so yeah. I just feel like people need to look at fitness as a holistic
Right.
approach to really like self-care.
Right, right. I agree with you. You know, one of the things that I'm also going to highlight, and it wasn't messy. First of all, listen, I'm going to age myself again. I'm 37. Okay, for some of y'all,
We're the same. I'm a year
okay,
younger than you.
okay, I love it. Okay, I mean, I don't feel a day
I don't know. Okay,
beyond
listen. Hold on. Let
27.
me tell you something. It's only Gen Z that is making us feel old. Like
Right?
we're not old yet.
I feel like I just turned 27. Like I don't
I know.
feel like and I'm still
No, I
excited
can't
about my
wait.
40th birthday. I'm like planning it as of now. I've been planning it for 2 years. So it's
No,
crazy.
you are still in the first half of your life.
Yeah, yeah, it's so true. So I saw this post about Mark Wahlberg, and it was
Mhm.
his schedule from the moment he wakes up. And he wakes up apparently around 3:30 in the morning or something like that. But one of the
Oh
first things
wow.
he does, I mean, he's so intense. It's snack time, food time, family time, meetings, work. But one of the things I loved so much was that he had time for himself in that schedule, right? And so, regardless of how he looks and regardless of his age, it was just such an intentional schedule to look at. And also for some of us who have been fans for a long time and we just think he's like gorgeous, right? Okay, cool. But, you know,
Let me see what you're
yeah,
doing,
but
boo.
it's just to see like and where he is today, right? And we're talking about a celebrity because right, somebody leaked his schedule. But it's beautiful to see
Mhm.
what that me time looks like and what that mental wellness looks like too for someone, right? And how that impacts your overall physical wellness as well. So I definitely wanted to highlight it because it's definitely one of the things that I picked up on with the commentators and during the game and like oh he still got it. I mean, well, he's an athlete. Like this is something that he does, regardless of
Exactly.
age.
I think is if you keep doing it and you have the discipline, like I said, that's why Tom Brady was able to go for as long as he did in
Yes,
football. And like I just
yes.
feel like I think there was just this I just saw a story of a 47-year-old gymnast who she's preparing for the 2024 Olympics
Mhm.
in Japan, I believe.
Mhm.
But 47 years old.
Yes.
And so it's just, again, defying the odds. In whatever like the society thinks that fitness or like that you are not an athlete if you don't look like this. Athletes look like so many
Different
people.
things. I
We are
know.
all athletes in our own ways.
Yes. All right. Well, I wanted to get a little messy with that, but I want to jump right into the segment as raw as it gets. And this is when I want to dive into the community that moves with confidence and freeing the jiggle. So let me say this.
Woo.
I am one, and I shared this a couple episodes ago. I've worked with Naomi Jerez, good friend of mine, but also food and health coaching, because one of the intentional purpose I had there, and my listeners know this, was to learn about food in a different way, not a restrictive
Mhm.
way, because I still love to eat certain things, right? But
Right.
just learning how to play with it a little bit, right? And learning how to incorporate new and healthier things. So I was never really a fan of like greens or veggies. With her, I've learned how to really find the love in that, right? But another thing that I felt was very much so holding me back. And I do believe I said it on the spot in one of the Solita episodes, but if I didn't, you guys are gonna hear it today. I've always worn a faja. I've always worn a faja because that's what makes you, look, real tight and everything, right? And after working with her for quite some time, literally one day I just woke up and I said, you know what? I'm not wearing this shit anymore. And I
Faja.
fuck the faja, and it's there, like there, because I have more than one, guys. That's how much I've worn fajas every single day, and it aligns with this concept of yes, freeing the jiggle, right, but also just feeling so free and not feeling so
Mhm.
constrained and so restricted, and feeling like I have nowhere to go but to stay in place. It was so impactful that I've noticed so many physical changes too. And we're gonna keep it all the way raw here, y'all. I'm talking about even my menstrual cycle. I'm talking about symptoms.
Yes.
I'm talking about so many things that I realized were no longer a thing. Like my cramps were never like this. Wow, I can actually manage this without stuffing my
Yeah.
face with Tylenol and Midol and all this stuff. I didn't realize just how impactful those things were, right? And so learning how to also incorporate movement into, oh, I'm feeling a little bit of a sharp pain. Let me move. It's been some time since I've been sitting here. Let me stand up. Let me
Mhm.
stretch. Let my body know that I hear it. I understand something's going on. And to see you creating a platform like this, right? To see you creating a space, a very free and safe space. Tell me a little bit of the beginning of this movement of yours. Like
Yeah.
very literal, but also, metaphoric. Tell me a little bit about it. Yes.
Absolutely. So, I've been a dancer my whole life. I've uh like through college, from 5 years old through college. And I was in a couple social dance clubs here in New York City. I choreographed for a couple of like
Yeah.
local singers, and I was really doing stuff as a side hobby. But I noticed that when I would go to some of these classes, I was like the only big girl in the class, and that and I used to feel I'm one of those things that like you have your thing, right? When you whatever your thing is, like you're so confident in. So I know
Yeah.
when I'm dancing, I feel super confident. Like I don't feel body shamed. I don't feel less than because I know that like I feel good and it feels good when
Right.
I dance. And for some people
Mhm.
that might be crocheting or that might be whatever
Right.
it is for them, right? And so, but when I wasn't dancing, when I was in the room and I'm like assessing the room and and trying to dance and like not trying to be in my head and like just perform, I would sometimes it would get to my head when I would visually see like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be here or but the thing is, I knew that there are other people that can. I'm not like an enigma. There's plus size people that dance, right? And
Right.
so that's actually when I started posting online. A friend of mine was like, "Yo, you should like post. You should post on Instagram." That's when like Instagram was still like very again. Oh my god, I'm aging my like this is what Instagram just started putting videos.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
exactly
it's so
it.
funny. um, But it was really cool because what I saw in the community was people like, "Oh my god, I love to dance, but I'm too scared to come to a class," or like, "Oh my god, like I miss dancing." And so there was a community of people. Then I met other plus size dancers, and I was like, "Oh my god, like we're out here, but we're not out here."
Mhm.
And so, I was always teaching classes, but what I decided to do is like, I'm showing up in this body and I'm not representing that enough. Like I always try to fit in,
Mhm.
right? And like I never just, I would sub for other classes, but I would never be brave enough to like, make my own schedule and do my own classes. And then I was like, you
Mhm.
know what, like I'm here in this space and there is a need for this space. And so even though I was already teaching classes, I kind of just changed my format. And we used to have this was actually the before the pandemic.
Yeah.
We used to have like a 2-hour workshop once a month, and that's how I started, where we would sit and talk for the first half hour and just kind of like talk some affirmations and get comfortable with like why are we uncomfortable with dancing or what we feel about our bodies. And we kind of like let go of some of that shame. We do some like fun dancing to like kind of get the silliness, like to be playful and silly, and then we do to do
Mhm.
choreography. But it was great because it gave us space, and that was, I think, what was just needed. It was a space for people to say, like, "Hey, you're safe here. Like, let's, like, wiggle out things that we don't feel good about. Let's, like, call out things that we maybe feel insecure about." Because, what we found is, like, almost a lot of people are in their own heads, and it's not even
Mhm.
being in a plus-size body. You could be in any body and look at yourself in a mirror and with a bunch of people in the same room
Mhm.
and feel intimidated because someone looks stronger than you or taller
Right.
than you or thinner than you or there is the comparison is such a killer. um and so what we realize is that we're all in our own minds, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
Everyone is in our own minds, and so it really is um I wanted to give a space to say like, "Hey, like let that go out of your mind. Like we're all feeling this kind of weird stuff, so we're all going to feel weird together. We're all going to feel sexy together. We're all going to try to tap into something together." And it was really beautiful. And I was doing that for about 2 years, and then the pandemic hit and I was like, "What do I do?" I think all of us were in a space where we're like, I wanted to still dance or create some joy, especially because we were in the house all day and there was not a lot of
Mhm.
activity, or movement, and so much mental health happening because of loss of finances or jobs or people or just having to if you were a parent you had zero time, like
Yeah.
if you were a
Yeah.
working parent, like I don't I still like I'm still traumatized by having to work and school my kid at the same time and
Yeah.
make sure that everyone is fed. um and so what I decided to do on Instagram was I just made these like every day at noon we would just dance
Yeah.
for like 15 minutes. And it was my way to give back, but also a way to be like, I am now responsible to get up every day to do this
Yes.
at noon. And it put onus on me to make that time for joy,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes my daughter would join in, as you guys
Yes.
you probably
Oh, we
remembered.
saw her.
We would
Yes, we
have
did.
people. She's so funny.
Yes.
And it was such a joyous space, and it became a community. It became and then at one point the comments, I was like, we were shaking, and I was like, let everything jiggle, let it go free, and we're like saying free the jiggle, and people are coming, free the jiggle, and we're like, yes,
Mhm.
and that's how it became. Free the jiggle came out of our community. It came
Yes.
out of us dancing, saying things, liberating things. We were like, yes, this is what it feels like,
Yeah.
and so what grew to be a 15-minute class at noon is now we have an online virtual studio of over 100 members. We have in-person classes here in New York City, and it's just so beautiful to see a community of just people who want to dance and let go. And so,
Yes.
it's really exciting stuff, and um, it's I feel like dance is very much therapeutic and very much
Yes.
therapy for a lot of people. Um, and we hold a lot of stress in our bodies,
Mm.
a lot.
Ooh.
And when you like it is, especially for us women, we hold it a lot in our wombs, in our stomach area, in our
Yes.
pelvic. And so when we're like, and I say this so funny, when we are twerking, when we are hip thrusting, when we are shaking and jiggling that out, we are literally waking up our lymphatic system,
Mhm.
which is releasing happy hormones, which is letting go of stress. It's putting oxygen and blood flow back into our bodies. I don't want to go on a tangent, but like we have powers to like heal our own bodies. Like we are
Yeah.
designed to heal a lot of ourselves if we tap into that. So that's really how it was born. It was born through kind of wanting to be representation, seeing a space where joy was needed in a really crazy time, and then how we can translate that into a class. And it's been a
Yes.
beautiful journey.
Yes, absolutely. What I love that you said about this was its evolution. How it
Yeah.
started to where it is today. I want to be very transparent. I absolutely used to join. Well, I don't work anymore at the place where I worked at during the pandemic. So yeah, I totally used to join the midday sessions, absolutely from
Yes.
home. And then I remember when you started doing the evening. And there was a point that was oh my god, I remember they shut off the IG live a couple of times. Well, not a couple, it was more than a
No,
couple.
they started to get onto the music rights stuff, and I
Music,
was like, you guys
yes.
are just
It
killing.
was
You guys are killing our
so,
vibe.
so annoying. I remember that. I was like, "Damn, we were in the middle of saying here," and they would just shut it off because IG was, like, having a havoc over it, but, it was just so much fun. It was so much fun to be able to at least sustain the movement. I've been very candid here about my weight loss journey prior to pandemic and then pandemic hitting, and I did gain some of the weight back. But one of the things I was very scared of, and I could be very transparent on this, is when I was at my heaviest before my weight loss journey started, I used to feel a lot of pain in my legs. It used to feel like pins and
Mm,
needles. I knew it was a circulation issue. I knew it was going to catch up to me.
mhm.
And so I knew for a fact, even having gained some of that weight back and now getting back into schedule and all that, I knew for a fact what I did not want to feel was that poor circulation. I did not want to feel those pins and needles because I literally would feel like I couldn't move and it's a terrible feeling. And so when the pandemic hit, one of the things that I wanted to make sure is one way or another there was still some form of movement in place. So I wanted to make sure of that for sure. And I was able to do that. Your platform being one of them for sure. One of the things I love so much was like you have always been very much so an advocate of modifications. And I appreciate
Yes.
that
No shame in the mod
so
game.
much because if anybody's ever worked out with me, y'all know my balance is not a thing. I am that person who will trip over herself and fall. I am that person. So I always look for the option of a modification and I try both out to see which one works best for me. I've learned a lot about my body through movement to know, oh, I know lunges are not my thing. So let me find that modification so that I can still get it done without
Right.
necessarily hurting myself, right? Because to your point, our bodies are very powerful and we can definitely heal ourselves without having to overdo it. So I wanted to acknowledge you for that because your platform was definitely one that did help me through the pandemic. And I'm sure you hear that all the time, but I think it's important to be able to reinforce it and to educate people on how simple a 10-minute movement can be and how vital it
Hmm.
is to our well-being in more ways than just one, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for that. Like I received that and I really feel like the work that we do is healing. Like I take it beyond like, yeah, we're just like we're sweating, we're we don't talk about burning calories like in our class. We're very
Mm-mm.
much like you are here. The intention of you being here is to let go of the all the crap that you deal with on an everyday basis,
Mm-hmm.
whether you hold and especially as women, because a lot of the folks that take my class are women or female
Yes.
presenting and are a lot of the times women that carry a lot of hats,
Mm,
like
mm.
they wear a lot of hats rather not carry. They probably carry a lot of bags and wear a lot of hats.
I love it.
And so funny, a lot of the members who come are service workers, like teachers, social workers, therapists, people who are constantly giving to others
Yeah,
and don't have the time to pour into themselves. So I don't take what I do for granted at all. And I
yeah,
feel like, again, um, especially our generation, I'll say it. So this is really important for us because we grew up in diet culture. We grew up in the 90s seeing like
yes.
hardcore, that like what was it called? Like heroin chic. I
Yeah,
think it was like that was literally like the the
yeah,
terminology at the time. And so we have to come out of that. We were so internalized just to
yeah,
think that fitness equals weight loss, which means I will look better, which means I'm more attractive or whatever the case is that you feel.
mhm,
But in reality, that's not. We always say this a lot, but weight loss is such a small part of fitness, and a
mhm,
lot of times it's a like secondhand result of right.
mhm, mhm.
And I think what we have to be more intentional about in our own bodies is like setting other goals for ourselves that are
Oof,
not based on weight.
yes.
I think we put ourselves in a bad position, right? Because if I'm going to the gym, and also hold on, let me backtrack. One, we need to set up goals for ourselves that are realistic. We cannot start and be like, I'm gonna start going to the gym 3 days a week, and you haven't gone for a whole year. Like
Yep.
that's not you're not setting yourself up, right? But if you say, I'm gonna go 2 times a month just to start,
Mhm.
and you did that for a year, you have worked out 24 times,
Amen.
right? And you don't
Yes.
think about that. Like you don't think about
Yeah.
if I even said once a week, I would have worked out 52 times. You know what I mean? Whatever it is for you, you have to start small. And
Mhm.
like we said, that's why those 10 minutes, like 10 minutes, people think like, oh, I have to work out for 2 hours at the gym. I have to work out for an hour.
No.
No. And a lot of the times you start small. You start with what you know. And a lot of the times it's just like, for me, and I know for a lot of people, like dancing feels good and it brings joy and it brings back sometimes memories depending on the song. There's
Yes.
a lot of nostalgia that music can give you. And so when you pair the power of like music, because I also am very intentional with the music that I choose as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
When you power intentional music and intentional movement and intentional affirmations, it get like you really have something special. And I think anyone can achieve that. You can go to the gym and say, today I want to feel stronger. Today I
Mhm.
want to maybe try 5 more pounds than I did, last week. Today I want to see if I can do 6 squats instead of 3 squats. There's so many ways that you can give yourself another form of measurement that feels
Mhm.
good, that feels rewarding, and that is true, right? Because
Right.
it's not like, oh my God, I'm not losing weight or I'm not hitting this, that I'm not doing the work. Like you clearly are doing the work, and there's so many other benefits. And when we acknowledge those benefits, we we don't think of fitness as a punishment or as like a it equals this. We just think of it as like,
Right.
ah, this is why I do it because I feel good and all of this stuff. So
Right.
yeah, I really wish that we can, take that tone more of just like using fitness for self-care.
Yes, absolutely. And let me say this because I want to be very intentional on this. When I entered my weight loss journey, it was, of course, to lose weight, but I wanted to make sure that I became stronger. I wanted to make sure that my body felt a level of strength that was to my liking and my satisfaction, that helped me in rebuilding my confidence, right? And
Mm,
adding to the current confidence level that I had. It's so funny that you mentioned the intentional music because there were days that I knew I had to balance all of my hormones because it was, that time of the month or whatever.
mhm.
And I still wanted to make it to the gym. And I would be listening to by far the most emotional Rihanna songs while I was bench pressing. But the point was, it was in that moment that I was fulfilling my
Yes,
body,
it
the
felt
strength,
right.
and it felt right with my heart and my spirit, right? And it's in through that journey, right, that you really do learn how to reach a certain level of success for yourself, right? If I'm not having fun doing it, I'm not going to do it at all. And when I go and do
Mm,
it, I'm probably not going to do it right because I'm probably not going to pay attention either to what I'm supposed to be doing. And let that be
right.
a truth in so many different aspects of your life, but especially when it comes to really fulfilling your soul and it being with movement and with music too, right? When it comes to music, it's like I literally have to wake up and I say, "What is in my spirit today? What I want to listen to?" There's times that I will listen to the oldest, most folkloric music of my country, Ecuador, but it's because for some reason I woke up and I wanted to think about my grandfather playing a guitar. And because I wanted
Yeah.
to think about that, today, as I'm getting my coffee and I'm commuting to my workplace in the Bronx, that is the music that I am blasting in my ears. And in my mind, I am in movement. I am a movement in a family party listening to this. And that is going along with every single step that I'm taking
Yes.
as I'm commuting to work, right? And so I do
Yes.
believe that that is a part of intentional and purpose when we are doing these things for ourselves and for our wellness. I want to highlight one more thing for you: moving and managing not just your business, but also the balance with your home, your family, motherhood.
Mhm.
How has that looked like for you? Because literally, as moms, we're always on the go, but you're also always with the movement. So, how has that been for you? Because one
I
thing
know.
about you, you're always like going. And so, when I see you share that, you're like, I needed to take some time. I'm like, oh, okay, Jesse's taking some time here. Like, how has
Yeah.
that been for you?
I will say it's not easy for someone who is naturally wanting to be active all the time.
Right.
Like, I have ADHD, and I've always had it. I've known since I was a kid, and so I've always known that I've had like this hyperactive energy, and it's almost like I wanna say, like, it's definitely a double-edged sword, right?
Mm,
It's in many ways, I'm very productive, and I wanna do so many things, and I'm very passionate about a lot of things, but also I drain myself because I put myself in so many places, and I don't feel like I can be 100% there for
mm,
everything, and so it's definitely trying to learn that balance, which I'm s you know, it took a lot. It took a lot of, I mean, to the point where I had a stroke,
mm,
and so that was really a really tough and a learning lesson. I will say for me, it was where I knew I was giving so much of my time to other people. And even if it's your own business, like again, you have to pour into yourself and
yeah.
whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, pouring into your own cup is so important.
Yes.
And I think it was a big lesson for me because I run my cup dry for
Mm,
sure. And I feel like it was just, it was a way for me to just for a wake up really
Mhm, mhm. Yeah.
a wake up really to be like, Jess, what are you doing? Like,
Yes.
you're out here bugging. Like, you
Yes.
need to really take care of yourself. And I think a lot of us face this is that what I've been terming as like toxic productivity.
Mm,
Like, I feel like when I rest, I'm guilty. I feel guilty for resting. And I say, oh my God, there are like two other things I could have done
yeah.
instead of been on TikTok for an hour or oh my God, I slept an extra hour. I should have woke up and did the dishes. There's so many things that run through my mind and I know this relates to a lot of people
Mm,
um because we feel guilty for like taking a break. And I have to tell myself like, just like why are you I was like you are allowed to scroll for an hour
mhm.
because you have done XYZ today,
Yeah.
and it's like, when are you gonna have time to not think or to not have to process something in your mind for someone else or for the next thing that you have to do tomorrow? Um, for a lot of us, like resting, it could be watching TV, could be watching, could be on social media, could be talking to a friend, could be just taking a nap.
Mm.
Like we're just
Amen.
taking a,
Yes.
oh God, I'm like, Lord, I strive for one day to be able to just take a midday nap, but I don't know if my brain will let me one day.
She's like, "I strive for that midday nap."
Like, no, I like lay down and I'm like, okay, I'm ready, and it like doesn't happen. I'm like, I'm there, I'm here, I'm ready, I'm waiting.
The
No,
universe the universe doesn't align for Jesse in that midday nap at
no,
all.
it's like you ever feel like when your body is so tired, but your brain's like, we live. Like
Oh.
here's the report for the day. Here's what we have to do tomorrow. Oh my God, remember that thing that happened to you in fifth grade? Like, why are we thinking about that now?
Sh
It's just like,
Jessie has tapped into a set of group chats that I have right now because it's exactly the shit I be talking about. I'm like, "I gotta do this, I gotta do that. This is happening next week, and then the week after, and this is already booked." And my friends are like, "Can you pencil us in? Because you're already booked out like 2 months." Like, but you're
yeah,
so right. You're so right. Like,
yeah,
there are times I wish I could just, the checking in and checking out to a hotel like that. Like, I would like
yeah.
that just for one
I
day.
would love my brain to check out for a day. That would be
Yeah.
so nice.
Yes,
No,
yes.
but it is a learning. Like I am not there yet, and it's a
Yeah.
learning lesson for me too. But I think what I say this a lot. I'm very lucky. Um, when I had my stroke in August, so it hasn't even been a year. I got to the hospital really quickly and I was able to get medication to reverse my stroke so quickly that I was paralyzed from my whole like left side, yeah. And it was scary because I'm like, I use my body for work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it was a very scary thing where you can realize, wow, I can lose it in an instant. And it was such a reminder for me to slow down. And now I think if anything, I'm now more in tune with my body. I know when I'm stressed, I can feel it in my body
Mm,
and know it more and say, like, I need to do some breath work or,
yeah,
oh, I need to drink some water. It's been a
yes,
while since I drank some water and I'm feeling a
yes.
little jittery. Like, like I'm gonna go, and there are times where I'm just like, I need to shake it out of my wrist. Like, I need to just
Mhm,
shake everything out because I'm feeling anxious and I just need to do
mhm,
a quick jump around because I'm not feeling it right now.
mhm.
Um, and so there's signals and signs that like I feel like I'm so much more in tune with. And part of it is like a little anxiety of like worrying like, oh, I gotta make sure that I'm safe and that I'm calm because I don't want to have another stroke. But
Right.
a little bit of PTSD there. But overall, it has taught me to listen and to
Yes,
listen to what my body is saying.
yes,
And to really be in tune with what's going on because this is our meat sack right here on earth.
yes,
Like, this is what
yeah,
we are working with. Whatever you believe in, we are all souls, right? And like, we are here on this, but this is not our forever home. And so
mhm.
to be to you know there's so many ways that people see this human experience, and we can live in this human experience stress out of our lives, or we can say like, I am here in this human experience to love, to find joy, to be happy, to live with this community, to spread joy, this whatever purpose that I have, whatever dream that I want to accomplish in this time here. we want to focus on that. And I feel like
Yeah.
me focusing about like what email I didn't send is
Mm,
not going to like,
right.
it shouldn't keep me up at night.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's really just learning to tap into just being more intentional.
Absolutely. One thing my show knows and my listeners know is that when the conversation flows and flows, and that's exactly what I wanted to highlight in the double or nothing. So we just dived right into that because I want to
Yes,
continue this
let's do
topic.
it.
Yes. I wanted to highlight, what happens when life happens and your intentional course of life takes a detour or it's at a hard stop, right? And you didn't even see it coming, right? And so you highlighted your experience with having a stroke. And I want to be very mindful in this part because for one, I don't want to like start crying. But when I
I know,
saw
I'm just trying to hold back before too.
I know when I saw you explain what happened to your followers, and I saw you get back up from that bed. As someone who works in healthcare, who has
Mm,
not always seen that
mm.
happen, such a turnaround time that it did for you.
Yes,
Okay?
yes. That's what people don't understand. I feel like everyone who knows that who works in medicine
Yes.
or in healthcare, like definitely like has attached like understands like
Yes.
how lucky and blessed I am.
Yeah, yeah, and on top of that, on a very personal note, I my mom was I think I was like maybe 13 or 14 when it happened to her, and
Mm,
we saw it instantly in her face and her eye. And my
mm,
mother, for those of you who know, La Chato, I talk about her here. She always has that tick in her eye and she gets treatment for it for the rest of her life
mhm,
because when it's too stressful for her, it starts ticking and potentially closes on her, right? I remember my mom was learning how to drive and she was practicing to go take a permit and to go take her license. And because of the stroke and the damage that it did to her, she could no longer see on her peripheral. So she wasn't able to get her license. But I remember she used to switch the car from one side to the other for my dad before my dad would come home. Yeah, I remember.
I
I
love
remember
that.
these things. And
She's like,
I
I'm still
rem
gonna drive.
yes, and I remember like just seeing little things like my mom had to stop working on a sewing machine in a factory because she really couldn't see for too long, right? She could hurt herself.
Right.
My mom had to make so many changes, and it was really hard to see her go through these things. It's really hard still to this day to sometimes see her eye react to stress or to certain things, right? And so I knew what that felt like for me. And to see you so resilient having a daughter and this being your temple, right? To a community
Mhm.
and at the end of the day you have a family, you have your home, and being able to see you recover so quickly. I want to believe that a lot of that had to do with just how in tune you are with your body and all the
Yeah.
movements that you have worked on for your body to be well enough that even in that moment, in such a scary moment that could have been a lot worse, you were able to aid yourself, you were able to fight through that, and you were able to start your
Yeah.
healling. And I
You
needed
know,
to
and
highlight that for in this moment.
yeah,
I really
thank you.
did.
I appreciate that so much, and I received that because I am a fighter through and through. And even when when it happened to me and I had fainted and I knew that I still had strength on my right side. And so it took mental strength, it
Mm,
took physical strength, but I hurled my ass
yes,
from
yes.
my room to the door. And this is so funny because there's such a Latina in me, but I'm like, I don't want them to break down my door because I live right next to the elevator and someone could just steal my stuff. And I'm thinking about this as I'm freaking like half myself is paralyzed, but this is my mindset because I'm like, oh hell no, that the fireman or like the ambulance is not gonna bust through this door like this because
I
it's
love it.
locked.
I love it.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, that is
But
hilarious.
I laugh about I laugh, but I think about that even in that moment,
Mhm.
I push myself because you could easily feel I could have easily just laid there on the ground and been
Mhm.
like, this is it.
Yeah.
But I knew there was something in me, and I don't know if it was intuition. Ooh,
It's okay.
I don't know if it was intuition, but for me, it was I didn't think I was gonna die.
Mhm.
Like in that moment, I was like, okay, this is happening to me, but this is not the end.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that mentality to me, it was like, this is okay, like this is happening to me. All right, let me get to the door. Let me like call the people. Like, let me try to get as focused as I can to to be in tune as much as that I can.
Yeah.
And what was really hurtful too at the time, and I want to say hurtful, I shouldn't say that, but because I'm so young,
Yeah.
and it's like so strokes, being in a stroke video will make you feel young. I will say that because I was definitely the youngest one there. But it was very much like, um, everyone thought I was on drugs or thought I
Oh,
was
yeah.
overdosing at the time, and they asked so
Mm.
many questions, and I'm like over here like I'm pissed, trying to talk to them, but I'm slurring, and my husband is trying to explain to them, and at the time, and I'm like, these white guys asking me if I'm,
Right.
weird, if
Right.
I,
Right.
I start to immediately just like, oh my God, they're assuming I'm like a drug addict, and
Mhm.
this is so infuriating because I know I'm having a stroke, and again, I say this often, but there's so many weird things that happened in my life. The only reason why I know I was having a stroke is because I was down a YouTube spiral where I was watching things on the ADHD, and I found you go to like a YouTube spiral, and you just start
Mhm.
watching video after video.
Yeah.
I was on a
Yeah.
TED Talk spiral, and I
Yes.
saw this neurologist who studied her own brain after a stroke, and she explained what had happened, and the story was so compelling that I remembered. So when it happened to me, I knew what was happening. I knew what I had to do right away. I knew I had to call my husband. I knew I had to try to call 911 because my speech was starting to go, and it was. Um, but I don't. There's definitely some survivor's guilt. Sometimes I feel I'm like, oh my God, I healed so quickly. Like,
Mhm.
why am I so lucky? And so, I don't take it as guilt anymore. I take it as like it was. Like God was flicking me. Like He just threw me to the ground. Like boom. Like He's like, Mira, get it together. And I was like, okay, okay, okay. I'll take care of myself. Okay. Like I feel like He flicked me to like bring me down a little bit. But He's like, I'm just giving you a lesson real quick, but like get it together, girl, because you gotta take care of yourself if you wanna
Yes.
do all these things.
Yes. Yes.
And I say that with humor, obviously. Sorry, can you guys hear that? No. Okay,
Mhm.
good. There's like a motorcycle behind me.
Oh, I don't hear a
Uh,
thing. Your car's
okay,
fantastic.
great, 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 good, good, good. No, because I hear it so clearly. Okay. Um, what was I saying? Sorry, my ADHD now. I'm like, where was I going with this?
God said, "Mira, calm down." That's what he told you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. I really no, but you know, again for me, I just felt like it was very much a sign. And you know, if I can get spiritual for a second, like
Of
there has
course.
always been a message that people always been telling me to be still, or that people have prayed for me, or have just told me in life, like you need to be still, girl. You're always like even though you said this is how you started the podcast today, right? She's always moving around.
I
And I
did.
have friends who would joke that cursive moves is not just moves, but like she always moving, like she
Moves.
literally everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I love it,
And
but yeah.
so yeah, and so it was a constant it was a constant in my life to be still, and I was never listening, and I used to joke, and I'm like I was like, God made me neurodivergent. I can't be still. He knows I'm hyper, like
Mhm. Mhm.
but there's just a different kind of stillness. It's not just about like being quiet in a room. There's something that you can like there are times where I take and I dance by myself, headphones in, and it's for me, and it's like that peace. I listen to
Yes.
like a bomba stereo song or like something that really makes me feel like just like earthy and
Yes.
like fluid, and that makes me feel like I can just move my body and not have to worry about choreographing, and I can just feel the flow of it and breathe.
Yeah.
For me, it's like that's therapy in itself, and that's for me a way to get things out, and to be and it's even though it doesn't sound like I'm being still,
Mhm.
for me this is stillness,
Yeah.
because when I'm moving, for me, I'm not thinking about tomorrow. I'm not thinking about the things that I have to do. I'm just like feeling the music. I'm feeling my body, and I feel
Yeah.
like whatever that is for you, it might not be dancing, it might be whatever it is, whether it's in your movement space or in your movement journey, find that thing that quiets your mind, because
Mm.
man, it is a powerful thing to be able to quiet your mind, not all of us are lucky to have that.
Yeah.
We are not always lucky to have that privilege, uh, especially for people who are neurodivergent. My daughter's also autistic, and so she has a lot of anxiety as a young kid. So it's hard to see it too in your kids, and so I'm trying to build spaces within my home to make it a safe space to be like, let's breathe. We do the thing where we're like, smell the flowers, blow out the candle, smell the flowers, blow
Yeah.
out the candle. And that's how we get, her to breathe and her to understand her breath and how to like use her body
Yes.
to
Yes.
calm her, right? And so again,
Yes.
these are all things that we're learning as we go. And I feel like as kids, our
Yeah.
generation was like, why are you crying? Calm down.
All the time. All the time. Yeah.
And we don't, and so like, and then we're always wired because we never learn ways to like maintain our own emotions, and then our kids see that. So man, like movement taught me even just to break generational curses within my own life, and like
Mm.
to be a better parent, to be more calm, to use some of these techniques in fitness and movement to calm my body, to calm my mind, to calm how I speak to people. If I'm having a bad day, I want to shake that shit out before I talk to my kids or before I talk to my husband,
Mm.
because it's not their fault that I'm having a bad day. It's work.
Right.
But I come
Right.
with a home with the attitude because I'm tired, because I have 4 hours of sleep, and because now you want to ask me to this, that, the third, and now I'm getting mad at you. But I'm like, you don't
I
deserve
know.
that, right?
Right. Right. Right.
And we get it. We can also be the victim of that too, right? And
Yeah.
so I think it's making sure that we have the tools to own and say like, I need to just work out. I need to, or just jiggle. I need to take a walk. Like
Hmm.
especially, I always say like when you mad at somebody, go take a walk,
Yes. No, it's so true.
because that walk will get you together.
Yes.
So it'll make
And
you process,
oh, yes. Process it. Think about it. You
get
know,
the heart rate up, like,
yes. And
regulate the
honestly,
heart, especially if you're upset, you can regulate that heart rate. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Like all those kinds of things. And so um even my husband and I, like, we went through a really tough time, and we've learned techniques
Hmm.
to help us be better. And a lot of that was like, yo, when we're not communicating well, like one of us decides to go take a walk.
Yeah.
Like, I need
Yeah.
to take a walk, and it's like we take, like, you know what, let's reset, and that really does work. And so there's just, again, I see. I feel like we're weaving in between, like, um, like wellness and movement, but it's all very much intertwined. Like,
Absolutely.
that's why I keep we. I, and
100%.
if yeah, if I could leave one message, in this whole podcast, is literally that, like, fitness and wellness, fitness and movement is so much more than, you know, so much more than weight loss. It's
Yeah.
just it's such a powerful tool for just life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It really is. It's insane. I said it from the beginning. Seeing my dad have a scare and seeing him through movement, right? Just like you said, right? Baby steps, right? Started off just one walk a day, right? It doesn't have to be both ways. It could just be the one way, right? It's such an
Right.
impact. It was such an impact, and he's so different now. Like, don't get me wrong, he's still moody, but there's so many things that he is very different in, and I cannot not acknowledge that part, right? So I have to be able to acknowledge that. But it's amazing just where the motivation comes and the positive energy comes for someone to believe that they can beat something and they can survive something because of movement, because they have the ability
Right.
to move and they're doing that, and they're
Mhm.
doing that intentionally. Another component
Absolutely.
I want to be able to thank you for is for being so transparent about, even with the balance with your family, right? And being able to share what movement is into taking a walk when we're not seeing eye to eye, or for your child, right, who also has anxiety, right? And it's so
Mhm.
beautiful. One of the things I've been able to do recently, and we're back on it tomorrow, my son comes with me now at 5 a.m. to the gym, where his
I love
head
that.
as a 16-year-old who is in soccer varsity team, right, who aspires to do so many things with sports related, and he is not by far the skinniest gem. Okay, no, my son is his little husky self, but you know what? He's so intentional with what he eats, so intentional with how he eats it, so intentional with what he fuels his body with, his intention with water, right? I need a little bit of water. I need to hydrate. He's so intentional with so many things that when I see the discipline behind it and the
Mm.
motivation behind it, that's where I really see wellness being so powerful. To
Oh,
see
you
him.
really tapped on something there too.
Talk to me. Talk
It's
to
it's
me.
so interesting because people like what happens is like people start with motivation,
Mhm.
but motivation fades. And so if you don't have discipline, like not every day I want to take a walk, but I schedule it for 3 times a week.
Mm.
And so like I take the time to do it. And sometimes like I'm like, I really like I remember there was one time I had my period and I was cramping hard as hell.
Mm.
And I was like, I do not want to walk, but I know that if I walk, I'll feel better, but I don't want to get up and get dressed. And I'm having this moment and my alarm goes off to go like to do my hike and pray. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I was like, all right, like I'm gonna do this. And I'm so grumpy and I'm like so mad at myself. But then once I'm out there, I'm chill. Like I feel so good. I actually saw a deer that day and it was like a really calming, beautiful moment. I felt like that was a sign of like I've always wanted to see deers on the trail, but and I'm one of these like woodland creatures. I'm like I want to see things and like oh my god. But then of course if I saw something like a snake, I would die. But I'm over here like, it was just a beautiful moment. I was like, oh, like, I really feel like this walk was worth it and it
Yeah.
felt really good. And
Yeah.
wasn't motivated to do it at
Yeah.
all. I had zero
Yes.
motivation to do it. But because I told myself that I was being disciplined to
Mhm.
get out and go 3 times a week and like I knew that it was good for me that I went out and did it. And
Mhm.
and it's so hard because I said you're going to lose motivation, y'all. You're going to
You
lose
are.
it.
You are.
Motivation is not an everlasting feeling,
Yeah.
and you can use it. I always say use motivation to spark something that you need, right?
Yeah.
And you can always try to find more motivation, but like really tapping into the discipline of doing something for yourself. And like I said from the beginning, is not I have to go to the gym 4 times a week. No, it could be I'm disciplined enough to go 1 time a week.
Mm.
I'm disciplined enough to take a virtual class 1 time. I'm committing to to setting up a playlist and dancing it out in my bedroom for 15 minutes, whatever that is. It's like you set those goals, and I feel like we don't have to be lofty about these goals. We can be very
Mhm.
small and very intentional, and we would be so much happier, right, if we set those small goals of like, yo, if I did breath work 3 times a week and I
Mhm.
completed that and that took 2 minutes of my day, I'm gonna be like, yo, I actually do feel a difference, and I can't believe that 2 minutes a day really did that for me.
Yes. Yes.
you know
Absolutely.
um
Yes. No, I
yeah,
appreciate
so
that for adding to that because I hope that whoever listens to this just really understands how the process flows and where the journey really lies, and it's not so much on stay motivated and I was like not every day, guys, but
an inspiration. It's like,
yeah.
girl,
Uh-uh. Because if I was inspired every day, let me tell you,
I mean, like, are you motivated to be at work every day? I know I'm not
absolutely
sometimes, even in my
not.
own work, but I go because we gotta put food on the table.
Right. There's a certain level of discipline that I have. Absolutely.
And
Right.
so so if you're telling yourself that your happiness is important to you, but you don't prioritize being disciplined about your self-care, then are you
Mhm.
really prioritizing being happy? Or are you really
Oof.
prioritizing
Ooh,
yourself?
that gave me
And it's
chills.
a I if I'm talking to you,
Listen, talk
check
talk to
yourself,
all of
girl.
us. That's right. Absolutely. But that gave me
Yeah, if
chills.
you're listening and it hits
Yes.
you.
On this platform, I always say we get comfortable being uncomfortable. No topic is ever off limits. So we're gonna check a few
Listen.
of y'all. We're gonna address a few things, even if it hits me first. So that's how it's gonna fly here.
Amen to that.
We're gonna go into the last segment, which is, ironically enough, because you mentioned it, I call it the overdose. And with the overdose, I always say I'm in healthcare. I probably should not name it that, but I just it is what it is. On this overdose segment, here is where we share something where we are either overjoyed with or completely over it. And it could be absolutely about anything, whether it's aligned with your
Yeah.
journey or just anything at all. So, is there anything you're either overjoyed with or completely over it?
You know, I want to say like there's two things. Like I feel like I'm gonna start with what I'm over because I
Mhm.
feel like
I heard you.
if we like I honestly feel like I'm over like having to explain so much that like fitness is for everyone and it is an inclusive space because I feel like we've lost ourselves in this diet culture and Like I'm just so tired of people using fitness as a diet culture tool and as a tool to minimize people or to make people feel less than when it is
Yes.
a tool for empowerment and for healing. And so I'm over that.
Okay, heard you.
I'm
Hello.
over just like fitness is not just for this like skinny white woman, we do like plus size Pilates classes all the time and like everyone who's like comes with us and they're like, I thought Pilates was just for just like thin white women. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, because
Yeah.
it's advertised that way, but it's like, nah, it's for a lot of bodies. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's where my mission is. I'm like trying to really push the limit on that.
Okay.
And another part of that too is like, I don't like, so there's all this noise, right? When, especially as a plus size athlete, of like, oh, well, she's not an athlete because she's plus size,
Mm.
or how are they, um, I've seen people get mad about like Nike, like making a plus size clothing for like athletes, and there was all of stuff. And I feel like I am in this space where I feel like you can't talk shit because there's all this stuff of like fat people need to be working out. Okay, well, I'm in the space where I'm doing that. So like,
Right.
what's your excuse?
Right.
Like I'm a trainer and I do this and like my body looks like this, but and it's because I work out all the time and it's because
Right.
like this is my body in this space. And you mentioned something, I don't go off topic, but I really want to hit something because you mentioned something in the beginning about your weight gain
Yeah.
during the pandemic. And what I want people to realize is that your body, remember we talked about your body has the power to heal itself. A lot of people gain weight at that time, but it's like your body was coping.
Yes.
Your body had to shift into a different stage where it was in a lockdown mode.
Mhm.
And a lot of
Yep.
people gain weight because of that, and it's not out of it was literally saving it was saving you, it was guarding you, and it was protecting you, and that was your body for that time because it needed to be that way.
Yeah.
And our bodies, especially as women, our bodies change constantly as through
Mm.
mother especially when you become after you have a baby, like, it's a whole new body.
Oh,
A whole new body, right?
sweet Jesus.
And so yeah, I just wanna pin that down, like, all
Yes.
bodies are deserving of fitness, and I'm over the fact that people think it's not.
Amen.
I'm overjoyed. Ooh, what am I overjoyed? Well, why don't you go first about your over it? Or should we go
Yes,
back and forth?
I'll tell
Yeah,
you
yeah,
when
go
I'm
ahead.
completely over it. Um, because I
She said,
feel
"I'm
away.
ready. I was waiting."
And let me fix my hair. And if the shoe fits, it fits. I don't know if anybody's ever gonna listen to this or not. By anybody, I mean one or maybe three people. I don't know. But I'm actually completely over this idea that people have because I fulfill a certain type of role in the industry that I'm in my career where it requires a desk and a chair that, oh, I just don't do anything all day because I'm sitting down in front of a computer. I have this thing with that idea or that concept, right? It's like podcasting, right? You're not just sitting in front of a microphone, especially when you don't have a full production team. I am a one woman show. I edit, I do all the things here, right? And I do to the best of my abilities that I also allow myself to do because I need to always find that balance, right? But I'm completely over where people who do not understand things like to downplay people and their abilities or
Oh,
their skills and to be told, oh well, I mean, it must be easy for you, right? Because you're just sitting in front of a computer all day. This is not the first time I've heard this. I've heard this before. I a lot of the time hear it from men, especially men who, and I hate to say it this way, but I have to say it, once they find out what level I'm at, it seems to be a bit of a challenge for them to deal with that. And so there comes the hope of, oh well, what do you do? Oh, but that's all you do. Oh, you don't really do calm down, because I may be sitting here, yes, but I have 3 to 5 different systems going on because I fulfill so many hats in one, right? And there's so much that is going on that sometimes I'm the person who has to be the front face while still doing all the behind the scenes work. And ironically enough, I don't only do that in the industry that I'm in and in my role that I'm in, but I also do that here. I am the front face on this microphone, but then I'm fulfilling all the other hats behind the scenes,
yeah.
right?
You are the podcaster, the director, the producer, the
Right,
editor,
exactly. And
the
so
sound
there's this
engineer.
idea, yeah, and so there's this idea, right? If you want to ask questions from people, to understand, but don't be so quick to belittle people. Don't be so quick because of what you see on the surface. Oh, it's nothing. That's not that serious. I'm going to take it up a little notch, right? The idea that, oh, well, he's 16 already, my son, right? It's not like you really need to be there, like, and parent or whatever. Absolutely the fuck I do. Like, I am forever going to be a mother. I am forever going to enter new phases and stages of his life that are going to require a whole new set of responsibilities and skills in
Mhm.
parenting. And I will say it time and time again. Nobody told me parenting a teenager is this hard. And he's a great kid, but it's hard. Okay. And
Yo, all my friends are saying that who are
oh
raising teenagers right now.
my
So shout out to any
God.
mom raising teenagers. Like I'm here, like sending
Yes.
you love.
Yes, and but I've heard even that downplay, like, "Oh, but, he's 16, like, the single parenting can be that serious, or the parenting can be that se—" No, it can. There's different stages in everything. There's different things that go on, and so I feel like I don't know if it's being the single mother who has a career and is a working woman type of thing. I don't know if it's the idea of, oh, she's so excelled in her role, but she probably has like a whole set of little people doing the work for her. That's not what it is. I think it takes a lot of understanding and a lot of communication. And so I'm just completely over the belittling, the judgments, and people not asking enough questions rather than just making statements. So I needed to put that out there. Yeah.
Let's go fuera with
Yeah. Yeah. I just needed to let it out.
that.
And overjoyments. Do we have anything you're overjoyed with?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now I'm just I feel like I'm in a season where I feel like there is a lot of talk of like community happening and just more people connecting. And so I'm just really feeling like hopeful and joyous about where we're taking Power Plus Wellness. As I mentioned, it's like
Yes.
a we hold like a lot of joyful movement events. We hold about 8 to 12 movement events a month for women. We've seen over 500 women in New York City, and so like we're trying to grow that chapter, and we have
Yes.
some potential chapters that we're hopefully
Okay.
opening. And so it's just like I'm really overjoyed for that and to continue to spread the message because I feel like again you can do a lot of work online, but like I'm seeing so much more joy with being in person and seeing faces and building a community. It's
Yeah.
just so beautiful. It's so beautiful to see, and especially I think after the pandemic, people are just craving community and craving some sort of connection to people, to one another.
Yeah.
And I'm just like overjoyed for, especially as an extrovert, like I was really hard during the pandemic to
Yeah.
like, to like release my energy. And so it just feels nice to like feel like we're in a space as hopefully as a bigger community that we feel more connected to each other and can like seek out more community after
Mm.
such a traumatic couple of years.
Absolutely. That is so powerful. Overjoyment. I think I just want to say that I am completely overjoyed that my allergy season is almost over. I am
Woo!
completely overjoyed that I can
It
breathe.
is a hard one this year
I
for a
can
lot of
breathe.
people.
Yes, I can breathe again. But also because it's interesting to just realize that I have to get to know my body a little bit different. Something that I've been able to say I've never dealt with a day in my life. I've started to deal with, and it's really learning what works for me. What else can I do for myself? How can I prepare for this before it even happens? And it's so interesting that all we're thinking about is, oh, it's just allergies, like get over it. No, when you've never dealt with it,
No, it really messes up your
yes.
day.
Oh my god.
People who don't have them don't get it.
Right. And so I am overjoyed that, you know what, it's A, never a dull moment with myself, and B, that I am learning. I'm learning more and more, and being able to embrace that, as we do get wiser in age and body, that there's a lot more to learn about ourselves with the movement, right? So even, and because I mentioned her before, um Melanie Santos, she has in her community, we do sessions, right? Community meetings, and she taught us this technique to minimize anxiety and be very meditative with breathing, right? And so ironically
Oh, is
enough,
it the
yes,
this? Yep. I love
yes,
that one.
yes.
I use that quite often, especially when you have a migraine.
Yes.
It's so
What
helpful.
is so helpful? Well, guess what? I kind
Mhm.
of had to put that thing into play with these allergies, right? Because the allergies were impacting migraine and headache. And it was just like this
Yeah.
whole thing going on up here? And so I had to incorporate that. And I said, maybe this is going to work, right? And it did. For some time, it was helping me
Yes.
out. And so I am overjoyed with that, that again, knowledge is power. And I'm able to put all of this together, between getting rid of fajas and learning how to make Brussels sprouts a little bit different, and dealing with allergies with
Yes.
certain techniques, but just really, really being intentional. And again, it's the learning ourselves, it's the learning our bodies, to be stronger. And so I'm overjoyed with that. Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's
Yes.
amazing.
Yes, absolutely.
Sending you love on that.
Yes, thank you. Can you please tell my listeners where they can follow you and find you as we have come to the end of this amazing episode?
Oh, it was so fun.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you guys can find me Instagram and TikTok, Facebook at Curves with Moves. And then you can, if you're in NYC and looking to move with us, you can find us at Power Plus Wellness. That's all one word on Instagram as well. But yeah, that's where I'm at on the socials.
Yes.
And we're just thank you so much for having me. This was so amazing, and
Oh,
I love being in a space to get to talk with like-minded women
yes.
like you, and just in this community. And I hope that we can continue to work together and continue to
Absolutely.
just push the envelope forward for women to just really heal themselves and feel
Yes.
good where they are, and how we can grow to be a better community.
Yes, no, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate you allowing me to be able to share this moment with you and this platform. And you know what? My ass will definitely be intentional this summer, because we definitely do have to come out and
Yes.
support and be part of the community, and be able to be present. Being present is essential, right? And I'm excited. I'm excited for what's to come for you, and excited to join in and to collaborate and to continue supporting. But I am very grateful you've been able to come on here and be vulnerable, and share so much, so transparently, on what this journey has meant for you. I always say we are an expert of our experiences, and we
Mm,
cannot take that for granted, because you never know who could learn from us. And so I appreciate you sharing your story here on this platform, Jessie. I really do. And
thank
she'll be
you.
back,
Thank you
because
so
I know
much.
she will be back. So she'll be back. All right,
Happily
guys.
jiggling, everyone.
Yes. All right. And this has been another week and another episode on Double Dose of Raw Talk podcast. I am your host, Misty, and you guys will tune in next week. Bye.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And we are live on your favorite podcast streaming platform. Make sure to tell a friend to subscribe, rate, and review. Talk to you later. Bye.